Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Paint, your weekly high school basketball show covering all things basketball in Lorain County. I'm Marissa McNeese with the Chronicle Telegram, as always, joined by my friend Rocco Nushi of WEOL. We've got my other good friend Kristen Bauer behind the camera here for our final edition of In the Paint for the 2021 high school basketball season. I cannot believe we've made it to this point.
One tier
I
shed
know.
as we hit our final show this week. That's
So
okay.
sad.
Plenty of stuff to recap. So.
I know, but we've talked about this so many times. It's our favorite season, and I'm so sad to see it finally come to an end.
Yeah. Unfortunately, all of our Lorain County teams are done. So, not quite the postseason success that we were maybe hoping for at the start of things, but with COVID and everything else in the mix, it just wasn't Lorain County's year, I suppose.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to recap the 2021 high school basketball season, but first, Rocco, we need to talk about the only game in Lorain County we had this week on the boys' side. Lorain playing for their 7th straight district title, unfortunately falling to St. Ignatius in that championship game. A really, really tough competitive game. St. Ignatius, a great team. Lorain had their shots. They had their chance to win, but unfortunately just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and something you had mentioned to me, you were actually able to watch the game. I had only just the audio available, but you had told me, with our conversation with John Rossitano last Saturday talking about that game before it got started, you said, Marissa, they did everything that they really needed to do to win in terms of playing defense, rebounding, just kind of sticking in the basketball game, keeping pace with St. Ignatius. But like you said, they just couldn't get a timely shot to go down. And that's kind of what it boils down to sometimes, unfortunately.
It was really a frustrating game. I mean, for all of us watching, I'm sure for the Titans, it was just, like you said, they did everything right. They played defense like they do, tough, in your face, getting those steals. I mean, it was really a great defensive performance, getting the rebounds. I know Coach John Rossitano mentioned keeping up with them on the boards was going to be big because that's a big athletic team they were playing against, and you can't game plan for size, so doing all you can to match with them on the boards is going to be big. And they did that. They got a lot of second chance opportunities, but couldn't seem to buy a shot, especially in that first half. They cut the lead, which was in double digits at one point. They get it within 1, 2, 3 points, but just down the stretch, they just gave the ball away one too many times and just couldn't get it done against St. Ignatius.
It's kind of the double-edged sword of playing such intensive defense and putting so much attention and energy and focus on that end of the court, right? You can get stops, you can string together good defensive possessions, but maybe you don't have the legs all of a sudden to get those jump shots to fall late in the game. And maybe that was the case for Lorain. I don't know, but either way, just ultimately coming up short. But a great effort from the Titans, no doubt.
Absolutely. Playing for, like we said, their 7th straight district championship, and it was, of course, the last game for head coach John Rossitano. He announced he is stepping down as head coach of the Titans at the end of this season, so just a really great run. What a way to go out, obviously. The Titans, I mean, if you had a chance to watch, you saw, gave it everything they had, couldn't get those shots to fall, but really just a solid effort for John Rossitano's final game.
Yeah, and it kind of fit the bill with what everyone has told me to expect from Lorain basketball since I arrived in Lorain County. Tough, gritty, defensive basketball, and they're going to push you, and that's exactly how Coach Rossitano capped his Titans career.
Absolutely. So now, that does it for our, Lorain County basketball season. We've got a lot to recap, though. It was a long season, tough, with the pandemic, just so many things were different, were changed, and they changed throughout the season. You couldn't really expect the same thing from week to week. It was similar to a spring sports season, which is, closer than we think, with the spring sports season just right here around the corner. Schedules constantly changing, finding teams at the last minute. A lot went on this winter sports season, but let's first talk about the girls' side in Lorain County. Rocco, what was one of, the bigger storylines that you remember on the girls' side this season?
Well, I will certainly remember this season from the North Ridgeville Lady Rangers under Coach Amy Esser. I mean, what a postseason run for them. They knocked off, a 2-seeded Magnificato at one point throughout that March for them. So it was very impressive. They didn't have a lot of returning varsity experience coming back from last year, heading into this season. So I think moving forward, they'll be able to build on the success they had this year. Grace Kingery, an outstanding freshman. If you don't know the name, you will very shortly.
No doubt.
So North Ridgeville definitely grabbed my attention this year and for years to come, I think.
Yeah, and in talking with Coach Amy Esser this season, it was such a joy to cover this team, the passion. I mean, they really put it all out there with each game. And like we said, with not a lot of experience, one of those things, we've mentioned it time and time again, but they didn't know any better. They just went out, played the game, and translated to wins. So I think we're looking at a program that is going to just keep trending up as the years go on.
Yeah, Coach Esser told me, she doesn't have kids of her own, so she kind of treats, those kids as her family, essentially, which is great to see, and the kids obviously respond well to that. Also in the Lorain County League, how about the Firelands Lady Falcons capturing that league title? That was certainly impressive. It was a close race between them and a couple other teams throughout the season, but ultimately the Lady Falcons ended up clinching that LCA title, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the LCA, just a really great, talented, competitive conference across both sides. I don't know, I've mentioned this before, what we were going to expect when they formed this conference, but it's turned out to be so fun and entertaining to watch these teams battle game in and game out. But another storyline on the girls' side out of the Lorain County League, Columbia's Allison Ross, an incredible season, and she was named a McDonald's All-American just a few weeks ago. Really a great honor for Allie. She has represented that program so well. A really talented player to watch, and it's going to be exciting to see what she does when she continues her basketball career at Winthrop.
Yeah, it'll be certainly exciting. I know that's one of your favorite things on Twitter is to kind of keep up with some of those athletes from Lorain County as they move into the collegiate experience and all of that. So it'll certainly be fun to keep following her career for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned I do love to keep up with our local athletes who go on, play at the next level. It's just so exciting to see their success. We have the pleasure of covering them all throughout their high school careers, and it's so fun to be able to say, I got to see them, way back when, to see that success on such a larger scale. It really is. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, you might have to change your Twitter name to the Day Day Grant Fan Club. As, you follow
That's
him
the unofficial title of my Twitter account. No doubt. I think everybody knows that by now.
That's okay. That's okay. Hey, it helps us keep up with them, so I'll take it.
Absolutely. All right, Rocco, now we have to look over at the season in review. On the boys' side, a ton of exciting storylines. I think, though, we decided we have to kick it off in talking about the Amherst Comets. What a season over there at Amherst.
Yeah, they break a 29-year drought as SWC champions, so that was very cool to see from Coach Pat Bray and the Comets over there. Austin Bray, his son, having an excellent season for them. Ty Witherspoon pieced together a fantastic season. But sort of fitting in with this COVID-19 season, they don't even really get a chance to play in their final game. Unfortunately, this season, COVID gets in the way. They have to forfeit their final game in the tournament. I believe that was would have been against St. Ignatius. So unfortunately, things coming to an end for Amherst. But that doesn't take away anything that they accomplished all season long, I don't think. Again, breaking a 29-year drought. Just a really well pieced together team this year for Coach Pat Bray, and my hats are off to him in the Comets.
It really was so unfortunate to see the season end that way after everything they did this past season with the conference championship. You mentioned Ty Witherspoon, Austin Bray. It was a great season over at Amherst. And I know Coach Pat Bray mentioned after their final game and once they realized, their season had in fact come to an end due to a positive COVID test, he said, at the end of the day, we won our last game and we can go out on that note. We won our last game. Unfortunately, this season, you don't want it to end this way. Of course, we wish everybody health and a speedy recovery. But when we look back, we can say as a team, this group won their last game they played.
Yeah, absolutely. And, who knows how that final game against St. Ignatius would have gone. But still, I think it would have been cool for them to have a chance of maybe even playing in that. So.
Yeah, so a great season for Amherst. That was one of our favorite teams to cover this season. They were so exciting, and it was just so fun to see a new top dog in the SWC. It's a conference that, you've seen Olmsted Falls sort of dominate a lot, and certainly you haven't seen Amherst at near the top, let alone win that conference, in 29 years. So really, really exciting to follow the Comets this season.
Yeah, tightly contested conference. And I'll tell you what other conference was tightly contested this year, the Lorain County League on the boys' side. I mean, goodness gracious. You look at Columbia early on, they had all of the chatter pretty much right around them, scoring, 90-plus points a night, dropping in three-pointers like crazy. They were rolling right along. They started to hit some buzzsaws at the end of the season as teams. I don't know if they maybe figured them out or if the shooting just sort of fell off a bit. Either way, Firelands threw their name in the hat, but ultimately it was the Keystone Wildcats clinching that Lorain County League title. They had a real nice team this year, a couple of different guys that can hurt you in a number of different ways. So Coach Holzhauer over there at Keystone, excellent year for the Wildcats.
It was funny, Keystone wins the conference championship, but it was sort of quiet in that we talked so much about Columbia this season. They were so flashy. They had, I think it was 400-point performances. They were averaging 97 points per game at one point in the season. That slowed down a little bit, but not much. But it did slow down a little bit once teams started to try to figure them out a little bit. But what a fun team to watch. I couldn't help it. Every time Columbia played, I was tracking those games to see, can they do it again? Can they break 100? And it was just really incredible to see that offensive output from the Raiders.
Yeah, no question. And anytime you get a Lorain County League scoring in the way that Columbia was, it's just fun to watch, and it's hard not to pay attention. And you said the word flashy, and I think that is kind of the key to why they got so much attention this year. Even though Keystone did win the league, it was in a more quiet fashion, I guess. Not to take away from what Keystone was able to do on the court, but and another team in the Lorain County League I got to shout out is Firelands. I know we kind of talked about them last week a little bit after their loss to Bookdale in the postseason, but that was a game where you're kind of looking at the matchup and you're thinking, maybe this one gets out of hand a little bit. That was not the case at all for Coach Januzzi's Falcons. They were right there, slipped away a little bit at the end of the fourth quarter. Bookdale, just too much, too late for Firelands. But wow, what an effort from the Falcons and the Lorain County League. I thought they really impressed this year, both on the boys and the girls side.
I thought so too. That Firelands game against Bookdale, no one gave Firelands a chance. Bookdale, really powerful team. I mean, that was going to be a tough game regardless, but they kept pace. They held Chris Livingston, the star from Bookdale, I think, to just 8 points in the first half, which has been unheard of this season. They really played well. And you mentioned it just speaks to the level of play from the Lorain County League in general. I don't know if we expected it. I don't know what we thought we were going to get out of the Lorain County League. It's certainly not a league where you expect 100-point games night in and night out and to play competitively with teams like Bookdale, but they certainly did. They're really making a name for this conference on the boys' side, like you said, and on the girls' side.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when you're able to kind of have a David and Goliath matchup with Firelands and Bookdale, and you look at the Falcons, there's no guys with legitimate NBA aspirations per se, right? You mentioned Chris Livingston from Bookdale, like he's got legitimate NBA scouts and all of that looking at him. But if Firelands, it took on that challenge, happily, and did not look scared at all in that game. And I think that was very telling with the kind of programs and the kind of confidence that the Lorain County League sort of creates with their teams.
Absolutely. Well, Rocco, I think that's going to do it for our final edition of In the Paint this season. I'm sad. I don't want it to end. I've enjoyed this so much. Of course, we have to thank our sponsor for our show this season, First Federal Savings of Lorain, bringing you your teams of the week each week this season on In the Paint. But it's been fun. I cannot believe basketball season has come and gone once again.
Yeah, it saddens me. As I've mentioned many a time, March, a great month. It's my birthday. We get the postseason tournament, the high school and the collegiate level. I mean, it's just so much fun. And now it's already starting to end. So second tier.
Absolutely. Certainly a season none of us will ever forget with the pandemic, with everything that went on this season, with the change in the postseason format. It was one to remember for better or worse. But that does it for high school basketball in Lorain County for the 2020-2021 season. Again, for my friend Rocco Nucci of WEOL, I'm Marissa McNeese of the Chronicle Telegram, and thank you so much for tuning in this season to In the Paint.